This conversation took place in London in 1669, following the christening of yet another child recently born into the Annesley home, and the latter estimate proved correct. This was indeed the 25th child to take its place in the doctor's family. The future of this infant was far from ordinary. This little one, a girl, was to have a very important part in the history of the church. Given the name Susanna, she would grow up to marry Samuel Wesley and to bear 19 children of her own. 2 of her sons would rise to great prominence in the founding of Methodism and would leave mankind good reason to know their accomplishments and to remember their names, both in the field of evangelism and in the writing of hymns, for they were none other than John and Charles Wesley. Susanna manifestly inherited many of the qualities possessed by her father, beside the tendency to produce a large family. The Reverend Samuel Annesley, M.A., LL.D., was a man of noteworthy character. Born of devout Puritan parents, he stated that he was so early instructed in the way of salvation that he could not remember a time when he was conscious of not knowing the Lord. At the age of 5, he began to read 20 chapters of the Bible a day, and this practice he continued till the close of his life. Early in his teens, he entered Oxford University, and upon graduating in 1644, he was ordained and became the pastor of a church in the county of Kent. His actions soon demonstrated what kind of man he was. The previous pastor had joined with his people in their dancing, drinking, and merriment on the Lord's Day. But Samuel Annesley declared his opposition to all such worldly behavior, and they held him with spits, forks, and stones, and threatened his life. His reply was, "Use me as you will. I am resolved to continue with you till God has fitted you by my ministry to entertain a better man." He stayed with them till there was evidence of a widespread turning to better practices, when he moved to London. There he faced still greater difficulties. During the 1640s, England had endured a civil war with, on the one hand, the Royalist army fighting for the King and the Church of England, and on the other, the army of the parliamentarians, demanding a Puritan form of government. The parliamentarians, under Oliver Cromwell, were victorious, and the king, Charles I, was captured, tried, and beheaded. A form of peace was then established, but could not destroy the bitter hostility in men's hearts throughout the nation. After a few years, the Royalists regained power, and King Charles II acceded to the throne. In 1662, in the hope of stamping out all traces of Puritanism, Parliament passed the Act of Uniformity. It commanded all ministers to conform to the beliefs and practices of the Church of England. Some 2,000 refused to submit to this edict, and, in what became known as the Great Ejection, these men, called nonconformists or dissenters, were driven out from their positions in the universities, from their churches, and from their parsonages. They were forbidden to preach, and were turned out with their wives and families, often to face homelessness and utter poverty. The authorities kept a strict watch on their activities, and the slightest attempt to hold a religious service could bring a man a heavy fine, or several years in a foul jail, or banishment to semi-slavery in a foreign land. It was as a result of this law that John Bunyan suffered his now celebrated imprisonment. Samuel Annesley was one of these 2,000 brave men. His action cost him a salary of £700 a year, and although he appears to have found other employment, his family undoubtedly suffered some loss and deprivation. His activities were constantly watched by the Royalist officials, and although he was never arrested, there was an occasion on which an officer suddenly fell to the floor, dead, in the very act of signing a warrant for his arrest. But the danger of being seized and thrown into prison was always hanging over him, and must have been a constant strain on his wife and family as well as himself. Susanna's mother also appears to have been a person of great strength of character. Samuel Annesley's first wife had died at the birth of their first child.